Hello and welcome to this month's session of Lessons in Leadership from our Hot Springs County Leadership Forum. My name is Scott Sikora and I work in adult education at Arkansas State University, Three Rivers in Malvern. I also have the privilege of working in our workforce department with Mason Robinson, facilitating some of our professional development for our local industry and business partners. And today, our topic, really this month, our topic is all things transportation. So I do have the privilege of being able to be here at CalArk International here in Mablevale, Arkansas with Malea McElyea, is that correct?
Very good.
All right, I got it. And Malea is the Vice President of Development and Sustainability for CalArk. And I'm just going to let Malea go ahead and introduce herself and then tell us a little bit about her position and what she does here. And I'm just going to turn it over to Malea.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott, and thank you for having me today for the Leadership Forum. As Scott mentioned, I am the Business Development Vice President and also over sustainability. I support our recruiting, safety, I support some of the operations and partner up with sales and HR as well. So kind of part of a lot of different positions in the business. I've been with CalArk for 12 years. I actually was recruited by our president from the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, which is where I graduated, and I've held this title for 6 years now. So it's been fun. It's a really great company, and I get to learn a lot of different things, and we have now over 1,000 employees.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Well, thank you. And certainly I've known Malea for some time now. She's not only a friend of mine and a real help to our truck driving program, but also she's a good friend of the colleges as well. So Malea, tell us a little bit about the history of CalArk and how it ties into Hot Spring County and even more specifically Malvern.
Sure. So we were founded in 1975 by Tom Bartholomew, and we started actually out of Malvern, and we do have our facility still in Malvern. We started with one truck going from Arkansas to California and back, and now we have over 600 trucks across 20 locations in the United States. And Malvern is home for Tom Bartholomew, so you will see him actually coming to Malvern on a pretty frequent basis and driving through the town, and that community always has a place in his heart. So always there to support.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
So in regards to your position, how did you rise, or how did you get to where you're at today, and what do you think led to that addition of responsibility? And so if you were to say, what are some of the attributes or what are some of the leadership skills, if you will, that helped you in not only attaining the position you have, but also helping you sustain this?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, I started in the operations world and actually went into safety. And I've always had this willingness to, and this eagerness rather, to learn. And being open-minded to new ideas and really want to be a part of the solution, and it didn't just have to fall in the realm of safety and operations. So, as I went into more of an assistant leadership and supported a smaller department, I should say, I really focused on knowing the jobs I'm supporting, and then how our company actually impacts those positions, and having them go through and say, you know what, when I make this decision, it impacts more than just what I just did here. It impacts the entire company. And I think that was really, really important. I was always looking to improve myself. I was always looking to learn even outside of CalArk. So as you mentioned, being part of the college, I mean, that was within the last 5 years. I've been part of the Arkansas Trucking Association for 12 years. And I actually started there as an intern. I'm not for the association, but for another company when I was in college, and got to network and learn the business from all aspects, from the biggest carriers in Arkansas down to the smallest. And it was really, really interesting to network and be really a part of the industry. I always focus on servant leadership, and you don't have to have a leadership title to lead. And that's what I've been taught even from my grandfather, just go out there and, you know what, be part of the decision. And it could be a small part, it could be a big part. Be accountable, because you have to have accountability to actually be part of a solution. So trying to teach that and teach myself that, and I have to remind myself of that today. Again, it doesn't matter the title. I mean, just know, be that leadership, understand the characteristics of a leader, and try to live by those day in and day out.
Yeah, good,
Yeah.
thank you, that's
You're
great. And you may have already alluded to this already, but what other leadership qualities have been important in your professional development and in your current position, maybe outside of what it is that you mentioned, and maybe even along the lines of things that you would be looking for in others that you would bring on board?
Sure. Communication. Strong communication, no matter what part of the business you're in. My biggest goal was to define the vision, communicate it, and be transparent about it. And understanding to be empathetic, understand your people. We have a lot of different employees here, as I said, 1,000 employees ranging from our office staff, our driver family, our mechanics, and you have to understand those personalities. And I've really focused on, how to go about approaching them, know what characteristic traits they hold, know how to approach them. Are they introverts? Are they extroverts? So I've really honed in on that. And being open-minded. You read all those stories of these companies that were huge back in the day, but they weren't willing to change. And I think that's what's great about CalArk, is that we aren't the smallest, we aren't the largest, but we can have the best innovations, the best tools, and we can change. We don't have all that red tape as some of the other companies. And so having that open-mindedness, I love it when one of my employees comes to me and says, "Hey, Malea, I thought of a different way to do this process and streamline this process." I don't close my door and sit back and cross my arms and don't listen. I listen. And you know what? We have, especially during the last year, we've implemented a lot of those great processes that really bettered our business at the end of the day. So I think communication is a big one. I mean, it is across every facet, honestly. But I always say that from, doesn't matter what level you are at the company.
Yeah, awesome, thank you. And Malea and I had a conversation before we started the tape rolling, if you will, and I kind of want to go back to that because I think it's important. I'd like everyone to hear this as well. In regards to CalArk International, we see that name international, CalArk International. What does that mean? What does CalArk International mean, and where is that all at?
Okay, so Little Rock is our home terminal, but we actually are really, really heavy in the Southeast region, in the Midwest as well. We have a facility in Garland, Texas, which is in the Dallas area, and in Laredo, Texas. We've actually been in cross-border business for 27 years. And so our drivers don't cross into Mexico, but our trailers do, and we have a lot of partnerships with carriers in Mexico, also our customers, and that's even shifted over time as well. So yeah, we were actually in it. We pioneered a lot of things in the Mexico division.
Yeah,
so,
well, great, thank you. I wanted to make sure I just brought that back out. So here we are in the pandemic, and trucking is known, since certainly I've had a background in trucking as well, known for the ability to pivot and to make adjustments very, very quickly, because that is something that happens in trucking no matter what the condition is. So how did communications and corporate leadership styles change in 2020, and how are they still changing in 2021 amidst this pandemic?
As I mentioned, Scott, the communication is key regardless. But so what we did is we really honed in on that, but we just changed the mode of communicating. More Zoom meetings. I actually talk with my sales staff, the ones that are here at corporate, the ones that are in Mexico, everywhere, and via Zoom, and we did it on a weekly basis, and we didn't do that before, but we thought it was so important to really hone in on all of these different aspects, because the pandemic it was an uncharted territory for us. And so when you say pivot, we would maybe have to pivot on the daily, weekly, monthly, based off of customers, what's happening with them, the way the supply chain shifted. So again, it was really, really important to use all of our strengths that we've had, but again, just adjust that mode. We created a contingency plan. The day it was announced that we're about to walk into a very, very difficult time. We met in here on a Monday morning in this very conference room, all the leaders did, and said, let's get ready and let's be agile. And we have been, we know we can, but this is something that we have to be open-minded, transparent, and communicate very, very strongly with our teams so they don't, because things are happening in this world that is very, very uncomfortable. So, so it was very, very important for us to show that support.
Okay, great, thank you. So what challenges did the pandemic present locally, and how were you and other company leaders able to work through some of those challenges? And maybe it's a specific challenge, kind of along the lines of what you just answered, but maybe if you could give a specific illustration
Sure.
of something along those lines.
So when I mentioned that we had to shift and be agile, especially for our customer base, for example, we do business outside of just Arkansas. And so the Midwest, it was impacting them differently. The Northeast, it was impacting them differently. So the suppliers that were out of those areas, what if they shut down their entire facility? So that means those goods aren't going to get to the end user as quickly. So we had to partner together to readjust and work with our customers, again, be very, very cooperative, be a partner with them. Just the way we did our business, for example, just the paperwork for our drivers. Our drivers couldn't just walk into a facility anymore. So we partnered with a lot of our big customers saying, let's change the way we do that. Let's do electronic bill of lading, for example. So we pioneered that for our customer. Toilet paper not on the shelves. It was a real thing because we couldn't get it there and they couldn't produce it fast enough. So it didn't matter if it was out of Ohio one day, then we're dealing with Pennsylvania the next day, or the Carolinas, or Texas. We just had to shift and we had to customize based off of the need for those areas, regions, or locally. Being part of the Arkansas Trucking Association, we have held like a weekly call with all the other carriers. So we all kind of shared some things that we were doing that worked, some things that didn't work. So I guess it's really good that I saw that partnership and I saw us all come together. We're competitors, but we came together as a family. Wow. And I saw the driver family be noticed. And I loved that because essential is not even the word. They're essential every day.
That's right.
Outside of pandemic. And so I think it gave the general public a really good understanding on what that truck driver does for our economy and how it moves America forward. Yeah, absolutely, and that's really it, moving America forward. And that's interesting to note how you all came together and how the Arkansas Trucking Association was able to facilitate that. That's fantastic. So are there any great lessons that you've learned during this pandemic or advice that you could give about overcoming big organizational interruptions? I know you alluded to some of those already, but if there's anything else that you might be able to add in regards to how you would overcome some of the maybe more global interruptions, if you will. Sure. I think it all starts with the CalArk family, Scott. I think we have all these innovations and all these tools, but without the support of our team and our family, those would mean nothing to us. And so we tend to rely so much on the innovations a lot and really highlight those. Not that we don't rely on our people, because we very much do. But during this time, you had to understand how it impacted them personally or professionally, and really continue to develop them. And we really had that investment in that. And it's still the investment in the tools and stuff, but I really saw a lot of these partnerships. I saw the communication get better. We did some remote working. Some people were scared of that. I understand, but we did great. Performance was great, and we changed the way we did business, and it was phenomenal. And We adopted how to keep in contact with our drivers, for example. I mean, just our weekly safety meetings was something they looked forward to. We had to move that to fully online. I have more participation there, and there's still that interaction. Orientation, we didn't stop orientation. We changed, we moved people to different offices and everything, so we allowed drivers in here. And we removed probably 8 hours of paperwork time and training on site that they could do from their mobile devices, so they could come in and get the job done and give them the opportunity to still work. And I think that is awesome, to be able to still give those opportunities during such an unfortunate time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so some of those things we adopted, we're not gonna go back to the normal. I know people don't like the new normal, but this is what was shift and adjust, because the drivers, they were agile. And we love that.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess that kind of segues really into this last question or topic that I'd like to ask you is, as a leader, you've mentioned a lot of changes that you've had to make, and even organizationally. But if you could just maybe point out some of these things that you feel in regards to your own personal leadership style, that maybe you've had to change, or you've had to implement, or maybe you've even had to acquire some maybe not so normal leadership styles, or for lack of better terms, something along those lines, and how you've been able to be successful with using those.
You know, I think I mentioned earlier, knowing the jobs that your team does. It's knowing them and being able to do them. During the pandemic, we had a lot of interruption. People that had to quarantine, things like that. I not only went in there and actually said, this is what we do. I went in there and sat down with them and said, this is what I'm going to do to help you. So if it's recruiting a driver, I did that with recruiting. If it's something with safety to support that department, I did that. And that's not something I'm able to do on every single day, but it's something I invested in, during this time. And, know the job, but be able to do the job. And that's what I did. And I really think that it brought us even closer together. I learn every day. And I always tell my team, the day you stop learning, that's going to be a challenging time. Yeah. So I learned a lot during this time. I saw that some of those things that you can read in a book and you can see in articles about how to lead. I actually saw some things in practice and how it really resonated across the team. Yeah. And I loved seeing that, and they felt like, because our thing is we will endure, we will overcome. You'll see it on whiteboards and some things within our organization, because we were going to do this. We were going to overcome this, and we absolutely did.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Well, thank you so much. I want to thank you, Malea. I want to thank CalArk Trucking, not only for your participation in this Lessons in Leadership, but also for just being a friend of Malvern, Hot Spring County, and the college. And I just want to say that hopefully this won't be the last opportunity we have to learn some more lessons in leadership from you.
Absolutely not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.